All right, let's talk about something huge. We're going to pull back the curtain on a secret weapon that can literally make or break massive projects. It's a principle that helps get things built on time, on budget, and without all the chaos you usually hear about. So let's get right into it.
So, let's start with a question that I know you've probably asked yourself. You look at a new stadium, a new bridge, a massive highway project, and you just wonder, why do so many of these things go wildly over budget and finish years behind schedule? What is going on?
Well, the symptoms are always the same, aren't they? You've got the huge cost overruns, the schedule just stretching out forever, and oh, that word rework. It's just a nice, polite way of saying you have to do the same job twice because it wasn't planned right the first time. All of this leads to safety issues, conflicts, and legal claims. And we're not talking about small hiccups. We're talking about billions of dollars and just a ton of frustration.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with that billion-dollar question. Then we'll define exactly what constructability is. We'll look at the payoff, why it's so worth it. We'll see how you can build it on paper first, and then we'll wrap up with a clear blueprint for success. So let's jump right in and start unpacking these project failures to really get to the bottom of things.
Now here's what's so fascinating. It is almost never one single giant catastrophic mistake that sinks a project. It's more like a death by 1,000 cuts. It's a whole series of small, what seem like minor issues that all come from one simple oversight right at the very beginning. And that oversight is, nobody stopped to ask how we're actually going to build this thing in the real world. And that brings us to the solution, the hero of our story, if you will. It's a concept called constructability. Now, I know it sounds a little technical, but I promise the idea behind it is super intuitive and incredibly powerful.
Okay, so let's get the official definition out of the way. This is from the Construction Industry Institute. They say constructability is all about integrating real-world construction knowledge and experience into every single phase of a project. We're talking from the first sketch on a napkin all the way to the boots on the ground. It's just thinking like a builder from day one.
Let's make that even simpler. Think of it like this, right? Constructability is like planning a huge cross-country road trip in detail. You're checking Google Maps for road closures, you're planning your gas stops, you're making sure your car can actually handle the mountain roads. You do all that before you get behind the wheel. The other way, that's just jumping in the car, pointing it west, and just hoping you don't run out of gas in the middle of the desert.
Now, a lot of people mix this up with something called value engineering, but they're really not the same thing. See, constructability is all about the how. It asks, what's the easiest, safest, most efficient way to physically put this together? Value engineering is about the function. It asks, how do we get the best performance for the lowest cost over the building's entire life? One is about process, the other is about the final product's function. You need both, but they are solving different problems.
Okay, so why are we spending all this time on this? Why does it matter so much? Well, because the payoff is just enormous. It basically solves all those problems we talked about at the beginning.
I mean, when you really focus on constructability, the benefits are things you can actually see and measure. We're talking lower costs, shorter schedules, because you're just way more efficient. The quality goes up, safety gets better, because the plan is actually, a plan. And here's the big one. You get way fewer of those project-killing change orders and arguments because you saw the problems coming a mile away.
And hey, don't just take it from me. The Construction Industry Institute, these are the experts, they sum it up perfectly. They say that at the end of the day, constructability just means better projects, period. Lower costs, better productivity, finishing earlier. It's not just about saving a few bucks. It's about making the entire process fundamentally better.
So we know what it is, we know why it's so important, but how does it actually work? In the messy real world. How do you really build it on paper before a single shovel hits the dirt?
Well, it's not a one-time thing. It's a process that's woven through the entire project. It kicks off right at the beginning, in the feasibility stage, just by keeping your options open. Then, as the design takes shape, you bring in construction experts to formally review the plans. It keeps going into procurement, making sure the bid packages make sense. And it doesn't even stop when you start building. You're still listening for better ideas from the people on site. And finally, and this is so important, you capture all those lessons for the next project.
Let me give you a perfect real-world example. On one big project, the plan was to build these super complex air filtration units right there on the job site. This would have meant tons of expensive, specialized workers. But during a constructability review, someone just asked the simple question, hey, why don't we just order these already built from a supplier? Bam! That one question changed a complicated field job into a simple purchase order and saved a fortune in labor costs.
Or how about this one, which happened during construction? The blueprint showed a huge holding tank way over on one side of the site, which would have needed 2,000 feet of massive pipes to connect it. A contractor on the ground, a guy who knew the site like the back of his hand, pointed out an unused spot right next to where the connection needed to be. They moved the tank, got rid of all that piping, and pulled the schedule forward by weeks. That is constructability in action.
All right, as we start to wrap this up, let's boil it all down into a simple blueprint you can use. What are the key takeaways you really need to remember from all this?
Okay, here's your blueprint. Number 1, get the builders in the room from day 1. Don't wait till the plans are done. Number 2, plan the active building, not just the pretty picture at the end. 3, simplify, simplify, simplify. Complexity is your enemy. 4, designers and builders have to be talking, constantly. It's not optional. And last but not least, number 5, have a real system for capturing lessons learned. Don't let all that wisdom just disappear when the project's over.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This whole idea of building it on paper first, of planning the how before you start doing, is just so powerful. So what if we applied that thinking to more than just construction? What if we did that for launching a new software, or planning a marketing campaign, or even just setting our own personal goals? Imagine the mistakes we could avoid just by thinking like a builder from the very beginning.